This is a video of my Frankenstein Celestron SLT 130. And I'm calling it Frankenstein because it didn't start out that way. This tube is actually what I originally purchased, and it's a Celestron StarSense Explorer DX. It's got the exact same specs as the tube that comes with the Celestron SLT 130, exact same specs, 650 millimeters of focal length. It's an f5, maximum magnification 307, which is kind of interesting because to get a good close view of Jupiter and Saturn and Mars, you need a minimum of 250 magnification. So this tube is capable of doing 307. And what I'm doing in this video even is answering the questions that I had for myself as I started to get into this, looking to do it cheaply. You know, it's very typical me here, but one of the things I tried to get in cheaply, and so the Celestron Explorer DX was $350, and it came with a manual. I mean, everything was manual, an alt-azimuth mount manual. And I very, very, very quickly found the limitations of that. I would not do that again, not at all. So the first thing I picked up as a result of what I was learning and the limitations I was experiencing was this computerized mount. And this is a computerized mount from a Celestron 130 SLT. That's what this is. And I really like that it's got that bubble there for the level. That seems to be very important. Well, then you realize that you have to battery power this. Well, operating it with, I think, C-type batteries was just not efficient, didn't work very well, didn't last long enough. And so in that bag, I'm not going to pull it out, but it's basically it's a car starter, and it's a car starter with it's in that black bag. You know what? The bag is actually the brand. It's the AC/DC Bolt, B-O-L-T. And more than enough power. I can get 6 hours, 8 hours of viewing time. I don't stay out there that long, but I'm positive I could get that even more. It's in that bag, and it's got a 12-volt outlet. And so I run the 12-volt outlet, and I do an AC to DC converter, and I had a ton of these lying around the house. Nothing special about this at all. I think this was maybe $12. I'm trying to show the end here. Okay. I think this was maybe $12. And nothing special about those things at all. I had enough of them, and I did actually buy one. That's the reason I know that $12 statement. But I tried them to see if they would fit tightly in. But what else became necessary? Well, I'm going to show it over on my table right this second. These hockey pucks. Okay, those hockey pucks right there. Those are stabilizers, and they minimize the vibrations. Just now, what I do is I set up on my driveway, and if a car goes by, I'm in a suburb, so the cars don't go by that often. But if a car does go by, everything vibrates. If the wind has got a little bit of something out there, it vibrates. These hockey pucks, and I think I found these for $19. You know, not the $50 hockey pucks, but these hockey pucks look exactly like the $50 hockey pucks, and they make a very significant difference to calming everything down. Well, what else changed? So I replaced the battery with a 12-volt power supply. Using basically a car starter. The motorized focuser. So there's the focusing knob that came with it. The other focusing knob is over there in the bag. Sorry if I'm making you seasick right now. It's over there in the bag. But focusing this thing was a bear. The act of now it's very typical, but the act of focusing would cause it to shake and shimmer, and you had to take your best shot at what that was going to be, and then, you know, back off of it for 15-20 seconds, let it calm down, see if you got what you want, and then do it again. With the motorized focuser, now this is not this is the Astromania AccuFocus. Astromania AccuFocus, which is the same as the Orion AccuFocus. No difference at all. But this went on very easily. These knobs actually do, reaching for the bag now again, these knobs actually do twist off. Now they will fight you all the way, but they actually do twist off. There's some Loctite, I believe. Look at a video from Chris Jones. Now he was doing this on the SLT 130. The knob was a little different, but it's the same idea, exactly same idea. And these knobs do twist off, and they do twist off on the SLT, on the 130 SLT. So I added the AccuFocus. Now you can see too that that's a motorized AccuFocus. It's in line. That takes care of the vibrations. There's very little vibration. And that's what really sold me on this. If you were to look at Chris Jones' video, and at the end of his video, he shows using the AccuFocus. Now his is the Orion AccuFocus, but it's exactly the same thing. It shows him using the AccuFocus to focus in on the moon. And that the vibration is, you know, pretty close to gone, 90% gone, and that's my experience also. The batten-off mask. Okay, now you don't need to use me for this, but the batten-off mask has made a big difference. Finding a star, focusing on that star with the batten-off mask, and then just locking it in place, and then you're visually correct for the rest of the night. Okay, so that's made a big difference. What else here? Okay, so that's the DX. It's the StarSense Explorer DX is the tube, but it's the exact same specs as the Celestron SLT. I added the Astromania AccuFocus, and then basically, so that's the Celestron 25 or 26 millimeter eyepiece that came with it, and it's okay. It's okay. But one of the things I can kind of state pretty clearly too is I don't do anything visually anymore. Okay, I don't look through that at all. I place a camera, and I put the camera right here, and it goes in just fine. And if you have a Barlow lens, or if you have a focal reducer, all these things I didn't know anything about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, but you put those into place right here too, and you can accomplish some pretty amazing things. I've got 2 cameras, and I probably only should have kept one, but I've got 2. My first is the SVBony, SVBONY 105, and that is it's kind of a lower, you know what, it was $39 to put that into a cost perspective, $39. And when I take my moon shots, that's the camera that I use. It's the only one that'll focus correctly on the moon. My other camera cannot come into focus. It's not on the moon. It's an issue with the length of the back focus on these tubes, which I guess is a Newtonian thing. But the camera goes right here, and the SVBony 105, the 205, and the 305 would fit there just fine. And if I was doing this again, I would probably stop right there. Now, the other camera that I got, and just doing this from memory, it's the AWO, the AWO, I think, or maybe it's an AZO, but you know, it's a much more high-end camera. And, you know, interesting thing to note too, don't be led astray by the megapixels. Okay, my low-end camera is 2 megapixels. My high-end camera, which costs $249, is 3 megapixels. The higher the megapixel count, the longer it takes to flush all that into cache. So the faster cameras have actually got the lower megapixels. Now my AWO, that's what it is. My AWO camera can take much faster pictures. I think it can go up to 400 frames per second, whereas my SV Bony, the SV 105, can only go to, I think it's 30 frames per second. So there's a significant difference. But what all this started from was my statement that I do not, for the most part, 90% of whenever I'm out looking at anything is not done visually. It's not done with me putting my eye to the eyepiece. I use my cameras. I put the camera there, and then I sit very nicely at my little table close to this telescope, and I skew the telescope because I've got this computerized mount. I skew the telescope. I acufocus the telescope. I'm actually looking at it visually on my laptop screen. And all of this has made it so much more enjoyable. I can actually look right at Mars, and there's Mars right there, and I'm not losing it because my eye is moving away, or it's not placed correctly in the eyepiece. I'm seeing it on the laptop. One interesting thing to myself, even as I'm saying this, is I didn't have to write notes on this. These are the pain points that I've had. Trying to view Mars, trying to view Saturn, trying to keep it in the field of view, doing it manually, which was just a total pain, or having the computerized mount skew for it. These computerized mounts also, they will accept they connect to any of the standard, it's a dovetail it's called, but they'll connect to any of those. And if the tube that you're looking at doesn't have a dovetail, which I don't mean my tube does, but if your tube has not got a dovetail, there's bands that you can put around it where you can still make that connection. So this was a fantastic investment. I paid, I'm going to say $200 for this, buying it used off eBay. So there's another thing that's made life so much better, and it's right here. This is the Celestron StarSense, and I think it's called the Celestron StarSense, and it's the auto align, and oh my gosh, it's just so much simpler now. It was kind of a pain to get the first alignment. It was a little bit difficult to do the calibration. All in all, I'm in a very polluted light area, and it was difficult to find a bright enough star that I could do the calibration against. But once it's done, and then you just do alignments. This has made it so much easier. Now, you can't... I'm looking down here to see if I can find it. Okay. The SLT 130 only has one aux port. I'm kind of looking at it right this second. It's right here. It only has one aux port. And to get to this complete setup that I have, I needed 2 aux ports. So this is a splitter, and you can either pay $40 for the Celestron splitter, or you can pay, now this was also around $12, $12 or $13 for this splitter, and it works absolutely fine. This orange piece there, that is a StarSense Wi-Fi module, and the combination of the StarSense Wi-Fi module and then this cable leads up to the StarSense. It's not a finder scope. This is the alignment piece, and it leads up to that. The combination of those two let me use the Sky Portal app, and with that Sky Portal app, I can do everything off the same phone that I'm taking this video on. It's made it so tremendously easier. If you have with your 130 SLT, if you've been doing the alignments just using the computerized mount, you have to input that data.
Mount added to your shopping list.
I think every time. With the Sky Portal app and using that Wi-Fi module that I just showed you, the orange piece here, you do not have to input that location data ever again. It takes the time also from your phone, so you never have to put that in again. And it gives a much more accurate location than the way you feed it into the computerized mount. So much so, and I know this has gone too long, but so much so that the other night, which is my last winter night that I'm going to be out there, I think it's just getting too cold. But the last winter night, or that I was doing this, I went to the moon, nice easy target. It was the only thing I could really see, but I went to the moon. I locked down the moon. This combination, this Frankenstein 130 SLT, got to the moon very, very quickly, locked onto the moon, no issue at all, held it rock steady. And here I am visually looking at it, and I'm moving around looking at different things on the moon. The Grimaldi, I don't know if it's a C or, okay, it's a crater, but I don't know if it's called a C. But I looked at that. I looked at Tycho. I looked at various portions along the edges of the light to the dark side of the moon. And yeah, really interesting. I was out there for about 2 hours, and I did not put my eye to the eyepiece even once. And that's great. It's right there on my screen. I'm comfortable. I'm sitting down. I'm not putting vibration into this, basically a low-cost telescope. And it's just made it that much more enjoyable. And I took pictures, and this was an extreme, something I didn't need to do. Now, again, my camera was placed into where that 25mm eyepiece is right this second. But I took pictures of various things, and I had my lower costed, that $39 SV Bony, the SV105, and I took 5,000 frames in the course of whatever that was, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I took 5,000 frames. Did not have to stabilize those frames at all. Went straight to Registrax. Now, this was after my viewing, but I went straight to Registrax, just playing around, sharpened them up, and I've got some beautiful, beautiful pictures of the sharpened up moon. Now, when it gets warmer out, the maximum magnification on this tube, regardless of, and this is the same specs as the 130 SLT, the maximum magnification on this tube is 307. To get a reasonable look at Mars takes a magnification of 250. Well, I can get 307 on my, I can get very close to 300 with my, with the AWO camera and a 3x Barlow. And I think that's what, I'm pretty positive that's what I'm going to be doing when it warms up. Really getting into that good look of that good look at Mars. Zooming it on my screens, on my laptop screen, seeing what I can see. not doing anything with my eye against the eyepiece. You know, I'm closing this down. I apologize for the length. I don't like looking through the eyepiece at all. And I've got, you know, my $350 telescope, I've got $700 worth of eyepieces where I was trying to buy my way to a really good view. And the best view is sitting down, staring at my laptop with the camera connected to that eyepiece area. And now it's a pleasure. I can't think of anything else I need. So thanks, but this is my 130 SLT Frankenstein, and I think I'm done growing it at this point. Thanks.